Water covers roughly 2/3 of the Earth's surface. Large amounts of water evaporate from the sea and land and exist as a gas in the atmosphere. When this gas or vapour cools, it forms clouds. Water droplets form in the clouds and fall as rain or snow on the ground. Water is an essential requirement for both plant and animal life. This is because water is a liquid at room temperature, and when it is pure, it is neither acid nor alkaline. It is also known as a universal solvent, which means that many solids, such as sugar, will dissolve in it easily. Here we can see solid sugar dissolving into solution in the water. Plants need water in order to carry out the process of photosynthesis. Water is taken up through the roots. We can examine the roots of plants by washing away the soil in water. Plant roots are specially branched so that they can absorb as much water from the soil as possible. If we look at a section of a plant root down the microscope, we can see that they have cells which specialise in taking up water from the surrounding soil. These cells are called root hairs. This diagram shows how water is taken up from the soil by the plant roots. The root hair cells offer a large surface area for absorption of water. Water is drawn into the root hair cell by osmosis. This is because there is a higher concentration of water molecules outside the cell than there is inside. As water flows into the root hair cell, so the concentration of water molecules in that cell becomes higher than in the other root cells. Water thus flows down this osmotic gradient from the soil to the centre of the root. Water also enters the root via a continuous film which exists on the soil particles and the cellulose walls of the cells. Once water has been taken up by the roots, it must be transported to the leaves. If we take a longitudinal section through the stem of the plant and examine it under the microscope, we can see how water is transported through the plant. Water is carried up the plant's stem by a system of interconnecting cells known as xylem vessels, seen here under low magnification. The cells which make up these vessels, seen here under higher magnification, are not living, and water passes up them in a continuous column. The forces which control water flow through the stem are complex. As water is used up by the leaves, it is pulled up the stem in a continuous column. Root pressure pushes water up the stem. The wetter the soil, the greater the pressure. The process of photosynthesis requires water as a raw material, as we know from a previous program. Plants also lose vast amounts of water through the leaves by a process known as transpiration. Mesophyll cells, seen here under the microscope, offer a large surface area for gas exchange and are surrounded by air. This is a mesophyll cell under high magnification. Considerable amounts of water evaporate from the cell membrane and cell wall as they are permeable to water. Water then escapes from the leaf in the same way that oxygen does during photosynthesis. It diffuses as water vapour through the open stomata. Water can also evaporate directly from the epidermis. These two forms of water loss from the leaf are known as transpiration. Transpiration draws water into the leaf at the same time as water is pushed up by the roots. The rate at which water is lost from the leaves by transpiration depends on the air temperature, humidity, wind speed, and the number of stomata which are open. You will probably carry out some laboratory experiments to demonstrate some aspects of water loss. Plants from climates where water is not readily available are specially adapted to cut down water loss by transpiration. These plants are called xerophytes. Cacti are desert plants and have reduced their leaves to needles as water is lost from the leaf surface. Photosynthesis takes place in the stem. Not all xerophytes come from hot, dry climates. Plants adapted to living in very cold climates may not be able to obtain water for many months of the year whilst it is frozen. Like cacti, pine trees have reduced their leaves to needles, but in this case they are still used in photosynthesis. Some plants shed their leaves in dry weather. Other plants may have a waxy cuticle which covers the cells of the epidermis, thus preventing water loss directly from the surface. Some plants may not be specially adapted to cope with dry conditions, but sometimes have to react to a lack of water. Wilting is a common response to the lack of water, but what is happening in the plant's leaves and cells? The stomata close even during the day to prevent further loss of water by transpiration. Water is lost first from the cell vacuole. As the contents of the cytoplasm remain the same volume, this loss of water causes the membrane surrounding the cytoplasm to be drawn away from the cell wall. This in turn causes the cell wall to bend, and so the plant wilts. Although the process of photosynthesis is vitally important, it is often the case that adaptations which might improve the efficiency of photosynthesis are not possible because transpiration is more important. After all, if plants lose too much water, they will die.